We go on to our last speaker and a very patient person at that. Dr. Priya, somebody has to become the last. Is a young lady with great skill sets and is practicing in her own Desai Eye Hospital. And she has a tip and learning for us. On to you, Priya.
What about other speakers, Chitra?
What other speakers?
Yeah.
No, Ramesh Dorairajan's father is in coma. So he wasn't
really?
Huh?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's not well.
Not well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, he may not pull through. And Ellen Kumaran had something else.
Ma'am, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Priya.
Okay, so thank you very much, Chitra ma'am and AIOS ARC for this platform. I'm the last and I can see that it's 5:22 already, so I'll try to make it as fast as possible. And looking at all these amazing complicated cataracts and how they were managed, I'm going to show a very basic secondary IOL technique, the glued IOL technique. And basically what I'm trying to show out here is that it's not necessary that all the retina surgeons do a cataract surgery, but every cataract surgery should have a basic idea on what they should do when they have certain kind of complicated cataracts. Like if these are the cataracts that are put in front of you, you know that this is not going to be a conventional phaco with the PCIOL in the bag, and you're not just going to get away with it in some 5 or 10 minutes of your expertise surgery. So in this case, what I'm trying to show here is that if you have these kind of surgeries, you should know that, okay, there is a possibility that I might not be able to put my IOL in the bag. I don't have a PC support. So what are the things that should come to my mind? In case if I do go ahead and put an IOL, there will be consequences of an IOL drop and probably the patient will come to me like this. So secondary IOL options, I'll just pause at that. Secondary IOL options, initially we started with an AC IOL, then we went to iris fixated. There are a lot of people who are doing iris glow lens, which have got wonderful results. And then came the glued IOL, the Yamanes technique. I think all these particular techniques have pros and cons, and I've been doing glued IOL for quite a bit of time and I'm having satisfactory results. Being an anterior segment surgeon, there are certain things that I do feel do have setbacks, and those are the things that I'm going to discuss. What is very important in these cases is a very thorough ocular examination. You have to look at the visual acuity and more importantly, the sclera, because you're going to make flaps. So you should make sure that your sclera is not very thin. Look at your conjunctival mobility, look at your conjunctiva for fibrosis. Why the cornea examination is very important, because if you have a very dense, thick arcus, you might not see the haptic. Look at your endothelial count and for any other corneal degenerations that you might see. And very importantly, do look for vitreous adhesions, because these are complicated cases that you're going to manage. If you do have any retinal issues like hemorrhages or breaks, then that should be taken care of first before the surgery. So this is a case of primary aphakia. The cataract surgery was done way back. This was a secondary IOL. And if you can see, I'm doing a very wide conjunctival peritomy because I'm doing a scleral tunnel here. I'm going to put the IOL through a scleral tunnel. And after the cauterization was done, an infusion has to be taken. Scleral flaps are made 180 degree apart, 2.5 by 2.5 mm. It is it's very important to use a marker, because I'll tell you why, because 180 degree apart scleral flaps are very important, because that is going to basically rule all the entire steps of the glued IOL surgery after that. If your scleral flaps are not 180 degree, you will end up trying to play with the haptic, try to adjust, and you'll never be sure whether the centration of the IOL is perfect. So once these flaps are made, these are intrascleral tunnels that are made to insert the haptics. And the rule that is followed is on the nasal side of the flap, it should be a superior tunnel, and on the temporal, it should be an inferior tunnel. Once this is done, using an anterior, using an MVR, do an anterior sclerotomy, usually done around 1 to 1.5 mm away from the limbus, but in larger eyes, you might have to go a little bit closer. An anterior vitrectomy can be done from the same ports on both the eyes. Look for those adhesions and try to release those adhesions so your IOL doesn't get fixed into those adhesions when you're trying to externalize the haptics. And as you can see, this is a 23 gauge MST forcet, and it's inserted to the anterior sclerotomy one. And this IOL here is a non-foldable 3-piece IOL. and the leading haptic is exteriorized. And at this point in time, it is very important to keep your assistant very alert with a McPherson forceps to hold the haptic in place while you are trying to exteriorize the trailing haptic. So this is the hand of the assistant who is holding the haptic with the McPherson forceps, and while you exteriorize the trailing haptic. And once both the haptics are out, it is very important to center and then insert the haptics. And while you're inserting the haptics, you will see a movement of the IOL, which will be a very good judge on whether you're clinging it to one side, or you see it drop, or you see it straight or steady. In case if you do see it steady on table, you can probably just go ahead, glue the scleral flaps, and then glue the conjunctiva, and you can probably close your case. And one very important message here is that infusion is very important to maintain. So if you think you don't want to go through the pars plana, you can do it with the AC maintainer at 6 o'clock near the limbus. But infusion is very important so you don't end up with the hypotony post-operatively. Glued IOL has as such got a learning curve, but it's a good option for a secondary IOL surgery, and it works well for how it worked for this particular case. So thank you.
Thank you, Priya, for such a thorough details about glued IOL. I have a very simple question to you. What are the tips you would tell to ensure that it's a well-centered IOL? What are the 3 critical points?
I think intraoperatively and postoperatively. Intraoperatively, most important point is that when your leading haptic is going to be exteriorized, your assistant should be ready, one, because if it keeps on falling every now and then, your pupil might change and you might lose your judgment of the clarity of how centered or how tilted your IOL is. Second is, while don't be in a rush to insert the haptics into the tunnels. Make sure you have centered it by holding both the haptics, and only when you're too sure, then you should insert it. And point number 3 is, even once you have inserted, stay put on the table for a few seconds and watch the IOL. You can probably play around a little bit with the iris to see the tilt of the IOL. And if you do feel that, I do feel that it's tilting onto one side, then recenter and then glue. Don't be in a rush to glue the flaps.
Priya, can I ask you one question?
The way of putting it would be to have the needle entries exactly 180 degrees apart, and the distance of entry from the limbus on either side should be equal, and also the entry into the scleral tunnel should be exact and should not be a little off axis tilted. I think these would be some very essential points to have it centered, besides all that you said.
Yes, ma'am.
Just stop screen share.
Yes.
Priya, can I ask one question to you?
Yes, sir.
I want to know why the pupil was not dilated in this case.
So basically, we had tried to dilate the pupil, but it was at that, we thought that there were vitreous adhesions, which we did try to remove on table doing that vitrectomy, but the pupil did not dilate further. Honestly, I don't know the reason, sir. It did not dilate further.
If it's a small pupil, because I use a foldable lens, you use a rigid lens in this case.
I do foldable as well, but this was a case.
No problem. In a small pupil, because I want to know exactly where I am going inside and catching the tip of the haptic, and unless I have a larger pupil. So I always put an iris hook. Sometimes I just use 2 iris hooks and just to dilate the pupil in the 180 degree in that area, just to know exactly where I'm positioned. Because with the small pupil, you may end up in some trouble. And exactly the centering of the lens also, you may not know if it's a small pupil, whether the lens is tilting or something like that. And the Gabor-Sherritt tunnel, always stain it with methylene blue. So exactly, you know where exactly to put your haptic. Otherwise, sometimes you lose track of that.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
sir.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, basically what you said about centration is something important. 2 more things that Priya actually showed it right in the beginning, but she didn't emphasize is that it should be diagonally opposite to each other. So that is going to give you this thing, and where you are actually making the tunnel is also very important. It shouldn't be far behind in one side and forward in the other side. The other important thing is that you can actually snip the haptics in case you are finding that you want more to go in one side or the other, and there can, because there's some amount of pull that can happen, even kinking at times in the haptic. If you pull it from the middle and it kinks, that also causes a little problem. So these are a couple of the things, and finally you should look at the Purkinje image as to whether it is on the center or not, and that is going to give you a good idea onto whether it is well centered or not, because it usually stays where it is, and that is very important that on the table it should be centered.
I think nicking off the haptic at the edge is a very important point, sir. I do remember doing that once actually. So yes,
If
thank
you
you.
have smaller eyes, then you can do that. And actually, for myopic eyes, Amar is proposing to have
Vertical.
larger lenses. So,
Or go anteriorly, little go anteriorly.
anteriorly or having a larger size of the haptics. But yes, you can nick them off.
Very nice video, yeah, and very well shown. But just to round it off, no, I am more a votary of the alternative, that is a iris clip lens. With a clean cut case like this, it would have been a 5 to 7 minute procedure, and it works equally well. There are of course positives and negatives, but I think like most surgeries, this is another alternative, maybe a faster alternative. And especially, of course, this was a post-operative case that you are doing. So it was a planned secondary implantation. But if you have a problem on the table, you're doing it a topical, then maybe some of these maneuvers are more time consuming. In those cases, I feel that having the other alternative of iris clip lens is much faster. And at least in our hands, I find that it gives equally good results.
Absolutely, sir. And also, I think what amount of manipulation is done, what is the inflammation you were having, and what you decided at that point in time is very important. I do agree to that, sir.
I think Ram, on the iris clip thing, Kiranjit just sent me a video a couple of days ago. He's actually got for segments, he has got for the iris clip now, which he can do, and for colobomas and this thing, he just clips it. So I think.
Nice.
Yeah,
I saw Kiranjit's video. You sent it to me as well.
Yeah.
Really fantastic concept.
So instead of having to buy morture rings and things like that, or putting them into the capsule, even the absence of support, you can actually decenter the segment that you have with the color. And
yeah, great addition.
yeah.
Just to say, sir, but in that I have seen Dr. Kiranjit's video of that. Those are for the iris support, but you cannot really use that and then put the iris claw lenses.
No. He has actually used them as a
For coloboma and for the iris defect.
He had a normal
iris defects.
Yes,
Iris defects is used.
You can clip those to the surrounding iris.
Yeah, sectorial iris defects.
Yes.
Sectorial iris defects.
Yes.
Or only a localized iris defects, he can use that.
The IOL is separate from this segment. The IOL, he had put a posterior chamber IOL, but it was more of a coloboma in the inferior part, so he had clipped it on at the bottom with a segment like you have the morture segment or the morture ring that you have. Instead of that, he has that to close window defects.
This may be customized depending upon the kind of defect that is there.
I think we've done all the discussions, so I'll come with my concluding remarks. I think it comes very clear to one and all of us. It's been really a fantastic webinar. Thanks to the lovely videos shown by each and every one of you speakers. And of course, a massive contribution by the expert panel. I think the discussions have been really a great learning for each and every one of us. My special thanks to, of course, my dear ARC team who always back me up, and my very sweet little friend Anagha for doing a wonderful job of co-moderating with me. And of course, thanks to the AIOS admin led by Mr. Kripal and his team. And you may not know these webinars running well is all because of the technical support of Mr. Sunil, who does a great job at each and every webinar. Of course, the brainchild goes to Dr. Mahipal, which I think we should always remember and thank him. And thanks again to Sai and Manjula from Numerotech for supporting ARC activities. My very special thanks are due always to Entode, led by Mr. Nikhil, because they have been the only ones to come forward and so energetically sponsor every ARC webinar of ours. And finally, and most importantly, our deep felt thanks to our attendees who give us so much energy by attending it, that we keep trying our best to evolve a very informative webinar each time for all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chitra.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Great
you.
presentations, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, very